Hi, I'm Cameron Humphreys from Humphreys Outdoor Power, and today we are going to take a look at a few more Dixie Chopper models. I've already made a video on the Z2 explaining why I love that machine for that 0 to 3 acre mark, more of a residential application. But what if you happen to have a little bit bigger property, maybe 4, 5, 6 acres? That's where the Blackhawk comes in. Today we're going to dive into the specs on the Blackhawk. We're going to also compare it to the Blackhawk HP, see what things are different, what things are the same, and how it stacks up to the competition. Let's dive in. Both of these machines share the same deck and the same frame. So you can get these in 48, 54, 60 inch. This happens to be a 60 inch that we're looking at now. These are 7-gauge welded steel decks, and as I mentioned in the Z2 video, one of the things that I really like about Dixie Chopper is that they're going to go ahead and put double side reinforcements on these outside gauge wheels. We know when we're mowing that these outside gauge wheels are going to bear the brunt of whatever we hit, and it's not uncommon for most manufacturers to just have one weld mount and for those to come back into us after the first few mow jobs all cattywampus where people have hit stuff. This extra support is characteristic of Dixie Chopper, and then they are always building a heavier duty option, and they're not slacking off, they're not going cheap on us, and that's just one of the things that kind of sets this apart from some of those other mid-range lawnmowers. I'm also a big fan of this step. I get a lot of customers who are always unsure about whether or not they can step on their deck. We never want to step on the deck covers, like this guy's plastic. We know we don't want to step on that. But Dixie Chopper does a really good job of giving us a place where we've got some traction, we can put our foot as we're getting up onto the machine. And I think that it's really nice to have that kind of clear step pattern for most of my customers. Because again, a lot of them just kind of try to hop over the deck, and that's not always the safest option. One of the other good features we have with this machine is just like the Z2, we can pop this panel up so we have easy access to the top of our deck. After each mow job, we want to come in here and blow this out with air. We don't necessarily want to take a pressure washer to it because these are all sealed bearings. So we want to try to keep as much moisture away from there as we can. However, coming back in with a leaf blower or air hose of some kind and blowing out the debris will keep the belts running longer. With this easy access panel, it makes it easy and convenient to blow that out after every mow job. One of the other things I like about this machine is the ease of use on the deck lift system. If you're looking at it from the front or the side, you can see all these big silver bars that make the thing look really stocky. And most of what that is to help us pick this deck up to where we're not feeling much of the weight at all. Everything's fulcrumed out in a very good way to make it so we're not actually lifting the brunt of the weight. Now, we've got 1 through 5 inches here with 1/4 inch increments where we just take our pin out, put it at whatever slot we want, so we've got 3 for right now. To release this, we'd press forward on this top pedal and then kind of come through with our heel and hit that bottom pedal, and now we've released down to whatever height we have selected. If you are using this machine commercially, and I have plenty of customers who are, you can just simply push that forward, and now we're locked up and we're ready to go onto the next yard, up onto the trailer, or into your barn if you've got a little bit of a ramp and you typically raise your deck up. But it is definitely an upgrade of the old ratchet style that Dixie Chopper used to have, but it's also not overly engineered, which is one of the things I like about it. One of the things that definitely sets this thing apart from some of the more residential machines is this seat. It's a lot bigger. We've got a lot of cushion here. We do technically have 2 little bushings on the back that give us a little bit of bounce, but it doesn't have that spring-loaded suspension that we'd see with more commercial-grade machines. We'll take a look at the Blackhawk HP in a second, which is one of the differences with this. However, the regular Blackhawk seat is a pretty good seat, and I don't think we necessarily need to sleep on how good of a seat this is. I think the extra width for a lot of my customers is a good thing. It doesn't feel like it's pinching your thighs or your butt whenever you're in there. And so far, everybody really likes that. And then even without going full-blown suspension seat, it still offers quite a bit of comfort and reliability. Here next to the seat, we've got the fuel tank access, 6.8 gallon tank on this guy. Should be plenty of capacity for you to mow your lawn as long as you're kind of again within that 4 to 6 acre range. If you are mowing commercially, one of the other really nice features about the Blackhawk is that it has an actual fuel gauge on the side. as opposed to like a sight glass, which is what a lot of manufacturers do, again, to try to cut cost. And it is nice to have that fuel gauge so you know exactly where you're at. And if nothing else, whenever you start up the machine, you can turn the key and you can tell exactly where you're at. Maybe you need to fill up a little bit just to make sure that you're not stuck out away from your property and having run out of gas out there. So again, that's kind of a nice upgraded feature that we don't see on a lot of residential machines. We see on a few commercial machines, but it's what sets these Dixie Choppers apart from some of the competition. As we're looking at this Blackhawk, one of the things that's going to be different whenever we go over to the Blackhawk HP is the engine. So this is a Kawasaki FT730, which is a 24 horsepower Kawasaki engine, carbureted. This we would typically see on more of those residential units. It's exactly what we would also see on most manufacturers in between models that are in between the commercial and residential grade, which, as I mentioned earlier, is where this guy lived. So this is exactly the type of engine we would expect on it. 24 horse is more than enough for that 60-inch deck to go on. This 24 horsepower engine is powering a Parker HTE drive system, which again, I think is kind of an upgrade compared to some of the other ones you're gonna find. Most machines at this caliber are going to have some form of hydro gear, which isn't a bad transaxle by any means, but I do tend to see more Parkers on more commercial grade applications. So it's pretty cool that you can get into that mid-range and get, again, some of these commercial grade features on more of a in-between unit. If we lift the seat up here, we're gonna mostly notice gas tank, again, 6.8 gallon, but we do also have easy access to the battery. We see those bushings here that the seat is resting on, and we've also got a fuel shut off there. So again, this thing is a great machine. I love the seat. I love the way it drives. It doesn't necessarily, because it has an integrated hydrostatic system, it doesn't drive like some of the older Dixie Choppers. For some people, that's a negative. For other people, it's a little bit more smooth. So I highly recommend getting on one, seeing for yourself if you like the way it drives. I'm a big fan personally. I've grown up around Dixie Choppers, and I think this is one of the best transaxles that I've seen on them. Another really cool feature is that receiver on the back end. It's a 1-inch receiver, so you can put a hitch back there if you want to pull any kind of cart or anything like that. As always, I recommend not pulling much more than 100 pounds, but you can safely pull a cart with sticks and that kind of stuff in it, or even some sort of lawn sweeper. They've got a lot of really cool options for the Blackhawk, actually, and these options fit on the Blackhawk and Blackhawk HP. You can get an electric lift, which is very popular. You can get some light kits. You can also get an operator-controlled discharge chute that would fit right here, and that would be foot operated, and it is a little flap that would close this off to where you weren't blowing any clippings out where you didn't want them. We've seen these things on their Excaliburs and Classics with the hand model. This guy's a foot model, but it also works very well. So make sure to ask your dealership if you're interested in any of these options for the Blackhawk whenever you're looking at one. So moving over to the Blackhawk HP, we're gonna see most of the same stuff that we were looking at over on the regular Blackhawk with a few upgrades. And one of those main upgrades we're gonna see right from the beginning is gonna be this seat. So this is a fully blown commercial grade suspension seat. You can dial it in by weight. I try to tell everyone, use that as a starting point. Some people like it more cushy, more firm. It just kind of depends on how you like the ride. So, and your property, to be honest. If you've got a lot of bounciness, you may want it more firm rather than cushy. If you've just got a few bumps here and there, you might just like that nice cloud ride. So you can really dial that in and kind of get the Goldilocks ride. That's one of the first things that pops out to people when they're comparing the Blackhawk to the Blackhawk HP. The second thing we're gonna notice is on the back end, it's this engine. So where we had the Kawasaki FT carbureted engine on the regular Blackhawk, on the Blackhawk HP, we have a few different options. This particular one is the FX730V. Now that FX is important because that's what that FX series is considered their commercial grade that they're running on most commercial machines. We're going to notice right off the bat that it has a lot bigger air cleaner, which makes it a little bit more of an efficient engine. It's going to give it that longevity and that resistance to a lot of wear and tear that we would see whenever you go to any kind of commercial application. They do also offer this machine in a 26 horsepower fuel injected, and they also offer it in a 27 horsepower carbureted machine with their Blackhawk SS, which are still out there. They're kind of a special edition guy, but there are still some out there, so make sure to talk to your dealership if you're interested in one of those. The other big difference is that this guy's powered by the Parker HTJ, which is just an upgraded transaxle from the regular Blackhawk that we were looking at earlier, where that one will go 9 miles per hour, this one will go 10, so it is going to give you a little bit more top-end speed as well, and we would hope a little bit more longevity. So again, this is going to skew a little bit more towards the commercial side, which is one of the reasons why I think this Blackhawk, specifically the Blackhawk HP, sets itself apart from the competition, because most of the time, most middle range guys are more like the other Blackhawk we were looking at, where it's still got more of a cheaper residential engine on the back, whereas Dixie Chopper with this guy give you an option of still being in the middle, but skewing more towards that commercial grade. So if you've got property that's a little bit more rough, or maybe a little bit bigger, a lot of times this more commercial leaning machine is going to be the one for you that's going to last the longest and be the best investment lawn mowing wise you can make. In general, I'm a huge fan of these middle range mowers. In between residential and commercial mower is where a lot of my customers live, where they've got enough acreage that a residential machine doesn't really make sense, but they don't necessarily want to go out and buy a $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 machine just to mow their lawn, and I get that. That's where the Blackhawk comes in and where I think it really shines. For a price point, you can get one of these regular Blackhawks anywhere between $9,000 and $10,000, depending on what deal and what deck size you're after. The Blackhawk HP is typically going to cost you around $1,000 more, which for the upgrades you're getting, the commercial grade engine, a little bit bigger transaxle, and especially that suspension seat, I personally think the upgrades are worth it, but it depends on how your property is laid out and what your specific needs are. That's why they make them both. They both come with a 3-year warranty on the full machine, and then you would get a 3-year warranty from Kawasaki on whichever engine you have. In general, I'm a huge fan of the Blackhawk. I really feel like it fills a niche for most of my customers, like I already mentioned, and it may be right for your property too. With all that said, leave me a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and make sure to drop into the comment section for suggestions for other videos you might have, or any questions you may have about the Blackhawk or any other Dixie Chopper models that you may be interested in. So in the meantime, thank you for watching and have a great day.